Hoard of the Dragon Queen, Book 1, Session 6. We make camp at the top of the hill as rain begins to pour. We can see the smoke from the town. The sun sets and we don't hear anything new. Toothlord in the dark goes to scout the town, nearly completely concealed. The town doesn't seem to be under attack anymore, and no armies. Tooth creeps further into the town. There are several piles of bodies. Houses completely ransacked. He doesn't see any living people. The citadel looks very damaged. Deep claw marks in the dirt and on the fortress. He sees about 20 to 30 dead people. Before a door entrance, there's a giant dead drake, a little smaller than a semi-truck. He takes its teeth. Tooth enters the front and sees more bodies, and damage and explosion marks, and several more dead bodies. Tooth hears some voices up north. He sneaks to look. The bodies are being laid respectfully. A woman in scale mail, red skin and black horns and black hair, and a dwarven fiery man, and a younger man who's in monkish clothing. The woman aims her crossbow at Tooth, and he lowers slightly. There seems to be about a dozen survivors. Castiel is the red is the dwarf. Captain Winfell is the tiefling woman. Castiel is the second in command of town. Nighthell has gone missing, we find out. Castiel tells me that the purple cloaks are the attackers. They attacked with the drakes and kobolds. They seem to be taking people. Are we gonna talk about the skull mask? Some random human boy mentions. They've been tracking the purple cloaked people to find out other towns have been attacked too. The tiefling captain is not a huge fan of the Tooth Lord. Tooth shares all the information to the party. Landon, the elderly elf, is dead. That we were getting the horses for. The party returns to the town where one of the houses is being used as a safe house. The captain stoically stares to the south. Dre and Khaleesi approach the captain. They introduce themselves as Tooth's friend. Tooth's loose friends. Tooth is slightly offended. The captain doesn't really reply to us while the Dragonborns relay information. The captain wants to go after Hill. She asks us to go after Hill and the other kidnapped victims. There are tunnels under the town, and that's how the citizens escaped the carnage. Landon's stable boy is there. Many people are injured, and all the priestess's magic users are taken. The guards were killed. Seems magic users were mostly taken. The master bedroom of the safe house seems to be the command center. Are you a dwarf or a small human? Castiel, with dwarven beard, attire, and build, etc. I sure hope I'm a dwarf, or my mother has explaining to do. Castiel lays a giant map down. The cloaks group up and left in a big group going southeast with lots of loot. Castiel offers compensation. Castiel talks about moving to Burradell as he doesn't want to be setting ducks. Tooth gives the metal harpoon to Captain Winfell, who has a twitch of a smile. We give the survivors 4 horses and we take 3. Tooth gets a bag of holding. We stop by the apothecary's building so Drake can build their medicine kit. Tooth helps them find the herbs. We begin to head southeast in the rain. We pass the church, and it's burnt down. It's still raining and dark as we begin to look for the trails. Tooth sniffs the mud to track the group, while Khaleesi huffs about not being able to tell. We begin to make it at the end of the field as we start to get to the rock zone. We begin to become soaked through our cloaks. There is a glow and smoke in the distance. There's a small campfire with about 4 people, humans, and a couple of kobolds. We make our way around the camp. Khaleesi stops Tooth from falling off a horse because he was counting teeth. The path starts to get harder to track as the ground turns to stone. Over a drop of a rock cliff in the distance, there's a group on watch with lanterns, about 8 people. There's a person with a halberd in elaborate cloaks. These people are well equipped, with a few younger folks and a sash around them instead of cloaks. We decide to tail the group, all sneaky-like. A lot of these cloaked people seem to be human. We travel about 500 feet behind, and Tooth hears pebbles at the top of the rocks, and he sees a face duck away. Huge boulders come towards us. Tooth dodges it. Dre and Khaleesi take some damage. The people peek over the edge and scatter away. The path is crowded, and combat starts. Two shoot crossbows at Tooth and Dre, and it lands by their feet. Wanderer shoots a magic bolt at the cloaked people, and they drop to one knee and gasp. Tooth casts Bloodstorm on the cloaked people while cackling. He prepares to dodge if attacked. The higher-ranking cultists throw a green fire and aims it at Dre and Tooth. Tooth dodges, and Dre gets pretty injured. The younger cultists aim to shoot at Dre and Tooth and Khaleesi, slightly hitting Tooth, and Dre isn't looking too good. Dre casts Magic Missile at the young cultists and both higher cultists. This takes down the younger cultists. Khaleesi injures one of the higher cultists with a thorn whip. She looks pretty hurt. Wanderer uses Healing Word on Dre. Wanderer casts a spell that shoots out stars to most of the injured cultists and miss. Tooth Lord casts Crown of Madness, metal-like thorns wrapped around the cultist's head, and his eyes go blank as madness fills him. He attacks the cultist next to him, and she gets stabbed, and blood pours out of her. The maddened cult does an eldritch blast against his student, and the student stumbles and then goes to make a run for it. Dre climbs the rock to chase the student and then casts Firebolt at him. It doesn't really hurt him. Khaleesi casts Entanglement to restrain the student, but he breaks out of it. Wanderer casts a spell at the student, and the student dies. Tooth ties up the remaining cultist. His hand and feet are bound, and he's on the ground. Tooth slaps his face to drop the spell. Tooth stabs him in the neck, killing him instantly when the cultist tried to shout rather than listening to the interrogation. We begin to loot the bodies, taking cloaks and the sashes. The brooch seems to be a claw of a dragon. Tooth gets more teeth. We travel for a bit before setting up camp for a long rest. Tooth takes watch for a bit and nothing happens. Nothing happens on Dre's watch, and Khaleesi gets to see beautiful rainbows dance in the sky. Tooth learns "ah" is a dragonborn's way of saying good morning. It's morning outside and misting out. Tooth sniffs the ground and motorboats the ground and points in the direction we need to head. We put on the cloaks to try to infiltrate the camp. There's guards at the front. Dre and Wanderer approach the camp. Dre pretends to be the master and Wanderer the student, trying to act as if they know the place. They make it in. Some really young kids and older folks wearing sashes are there, and captives seem to be doing slave labor. Tooth and Khaleesi go through, and they notice Khaleesi is kind of shy. We meander through the camp without suspicion. Then we meet up with the others to try to figure out what to do. The students seem to stick near their mentors, and there's a ton of folks around. There's many different races, and most seem to be speaking common. Wanderer and Khaleesi go up to a tormentor trying to chase kobolds away from the weapons. The mentor accepts the help, but not fully paying attention as he makes them and his real student take daggers to the smith. The student whispers, "Don't go into the cave if they ask you to. Initiatives go missing, so I ain't going," before he follows his mentor. Khaleesi and Wanderer continue. Tooth and Dre watch the slaves and the guards at the top of the cliffs. At the top of the cliffs, there are drakes, 2 guards at the front of the camp, while 2 tend to watch the captives. Khaleesi and Wanderer approach a huge forge, run by a tall, buff, elven man. Khaleesi makes her way around him and notices half of his face is black and scaled with a gold eye. Khaleesi notices some higher-ups meeting and talking. She decides to try to avoid them. She does notice there is an empty dugout hole. Looks like they've been starting to dig a new hole. Khaleesi can't find Nighthill or the monk. She notices some of the captives are from the town. One passes out and straight up dies in front of her, before the body is fed to the drakes. Break is called, and the slaves are put into a fence to eat some nasty soup. We decide we should check out the cave at some point.